not trying to scare you, but there's a camera and a microphone in this device. There's a camera and a microphone.
Please don't fail me.
Mexico City is a culturally rich city in the heart of Mexico where many Mexicans, including myself, hold it dear. Originally known as the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan, the city was built on top of Lake Texcoco and was surrounded by water, arguably the Venice of the New World. Following the Spanish conquest of the Aztecs, the city was renamed to Mexico City, named after the Mexica people. Since its inception as the Aztec capital, to its creation of the capital of New Spain, and eventually today as the capital of Mexico, the city has been at the center of the nation's history. Recent times have seen Mexico City inexplicably grow and change, far from the times of a quiet and lively city. Today, a city plagued by congestion and crime from urbanization. Urban development plans have led to overpopulation, severe sinking from the city's water basin, as well as recent waves of migration from the US and other Western countries that has resulted in gentrification and political instability that has disadvantaged the people of Mexico City. Mexico City is considered the largest city in North America, beating the largest city in the US, New York City. Mexico City has seen unprecedented growth since the 1980s, with the population estimated to have nearly doubled, going from 13 million in the 80s to 22 million in 2019. The problem of the city's overpopulation can be noticed in other aspects. For example, the metro system in Mexico City was built to accommodate 4.5 million riders, but with an average of 5.1 million estimated riders every year. The city went from it being described as quaint and lively to it now being described as noisy and congested.
México era una ciudad muy tranquila, donde el tráfico no existía, para empezar. Se vivía muy tranquilo. Una ciudad muy tranquila, donde podías caminar por las calles y no tenías miedo. La Ciudad de México se ha convertido en una ciudad caótica, una ciudad muy fea, donde pues tienes que siempre tener cuidado y no andar como enseñando tus cosas, no llevar una bolsa, no llevar, porque la delincuencia ahorita está muy fuerte.
An important factor contributing to the noisiness is the use of cars in transportation. Cars are arguably the largest form of transportation in the city. An estimated 5 million cars are registered in the city,
with the number likely being much higher due to the fact that many cars are registered out of state. Due to this, Mexico City's traffic has become an annoying nuisance to those in the city. The most important byproduct that comes from overpopulation is, of course, higher crime rates. Mexico City's crime rate is comparable to other large urban areas like New York, with the city having large numbers of theft and corruption. Although many brag about the safety in the city, the crime rate doesn't appear until you look below the surface. These crime rates are significantly higher in some areas compared to others that have not had urban renewal. Places like Tepito are ridden with crime that not even locals would dare to go into. Further adding to these levels of poverty and crime rates, the large population shift has seen the rural side of Mexico witness a sharp decline, with many moving from rural areas not having enough money, adding on to poverty levels. Like most issue, blame has been put on the government for not addressing the overpopulation that has resulted from urbanizations, with politicians placing more importance on projects to attract tourists.
A recent problem that has impacted the inhabitants of Mexico City is gentrification. Gentrification, sometimes referred to as urban renewal, at its core is when an area is changed by wealthier people moving in, bringing up prices for locals while slowly pushing them out.
Well, I've been priced out of Sesame Street, Elmo. The taxes got too high and had to sell the brownstone that's been in my family for 100 years. And now I'm homeless.
As many of you may know, gentrification is very prevalent in places in America, with many communities in cities like New York and even my own city of San Diego being affected.
Mexico City's case of gentrification is intrinsically linked to surging rent prices in the US. Mexico City has become a safe haven for these expats due to the rich culture as well as relatively low rent compared to other major cities in the US.
Pienso que para esta gente de fuera, pues que es increíble, se me hace que es una oportunidad muy grande, porque pues ellos pueden vivir de una forma muy bien, y pues imagínate, se amplían los negocios,
Because of this, many Americans have found it easier to move out of their expensive areas than to pay rent. Another factor that makes the city a prime target is due to the fact that many expats get paid in USD from remote work, which makes living there a lot easier due to the exchange rate. Many foreigners in Mexico City working remotely have coined the term digital nomad.
which I kind of find stupid, and it's more just like a way for these people not to call themselves immigrants. So,
Americans are allowed to stay in Mexico City visa-free for 6 months, which attracts many to the city. The trend of expats moving to Mexico City can be shown by the fact that from 2019 to 2023, Mexico City's population rose by nearly 3%. It is estimated that 1.6 million Americans call Mexico home, with the majority of them living in Mexico City. Sadly, a good number of foreigners aren't really interested in the culture and are simply moving to Mexico City due to the low rent. This increase in foreigners has caused many disadvantages to locals. For one, the increase in foreigners renting apartment predictably caused rent prices in the city to skyrocket. This caused many long-term residents of the city to pay these enormous rent prices or move elsewhere.
Que llega de fuera con dinero y entonces las rentas suben y la gente de México que no gana tan bien, pues ya no pueden pagar esas rentas, entonces se tienen que ir a ciudades cercanas.
The resulting increase in foreigners has also impacted the city's character. Neighborhoods like Condesa, Polanco, and Roma del Norte have been impacted, with local stores and restaurants now being replaced with coffee shops and Pilates studios.
Porque yo toda mi vida viví en esa área, en Polanco, Las Lomas. Esta gente que llegó de Estados Unidos o de Europa, ahorita se pusieron de moda otras colonias que cuando mi papá era chiquito eran las que estaban de moda. Luego se cambiaron a Polanco, Lomas, y ahorita esas colonias de hace muchísimo tiempo se están volviendo a poner gracias a estos extranjeros.
These foreigners also don't attempt to learn Spanish to assimilate, therefore forcing the use of English in the city. Locals have shown their frustration with the use of English in the city, with some reporting how annoying it's become, and others have begun putting up posters telling foreigners to leave the city. As many locals are forced to leave their communities for cheaper ones, disparities then manifest in other neighborhoods, causing more poverty and adding to the city's crime rates. Flooding is the biggest detriment and will continue to affect the city going forward. The original city built by the Aztecs, Tenochtitlan, was built on an island in a basin engulfed by mountains. After the conquest of the empire, the Spaniards slowly but surely drained the lake surrounding the city until it had been fully drained. However, Lake Texcoco has not given up on reclaiming itself. Since then, the lake has caused trouble to the community, with semi-regular flooding occurring. However, due to recent population growth, the problem has only gotten worse. It is estimated that some areas in Mexico City are sinking by 20 inches each every year. 3 years ago, the lake resurfaced in the canceled $13 billion airport, with the area now being part of a conservation effort to bring back parts of the lake. However, these efforts aren't entirely useful, as in the coming years, areas could sink up to 65 inches as well. If the city sank ununiformly, it could cause a heavy amount of damage to infrastructure, roads, and subway lines. With Mexico City's exponential growth, the inevitable flood will affect millions, as well as cost billions of dollars in repairs and also disrupt the nation's economy.